Now, all the way from the G20 summit in India, a news is reaching us. African Union has finally been allowed to have a seat in the G20 in India. So the leader of the African Union was welcomed up, and they don't reach a unanimous agreement to allow African Union to have a seat. So yeah, that's the good news. We have a representative in there. But some people not agree, say that good news. They have their reasons why they not agree. Say to give African representative, African Union a seat in the G20 is a good news. First and foremost, I will read you the news. Then let's come and talk about the concerns that people have and why they don't think it's a fair deal. Hear this. African Union formally joined G20 at the Delhi summit, according to China's television. The African Union formally took its seat as a new member of the G20 on Saturday at the invitation of Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The expansion of the bloc is a notable diplomatic victory for Modi, who faces national elections next year, and he has used hosting rights for this year's forum to burnish his image as an international statesman. Before his opening speech, Modi greeted African Union Chair and Comoros President Azali Assoumani with a warm hug. India put a proposal to give permanent membership of G20 to the African Union. I believe that we have everyone's agreement on this, Modi said in his opening address to the summit. With everyone's approval, I request the African Union head to take his seat as a permanent G20 member, he added, banging in ceremonial gavel. Assoumani then took his seat among world leaders at the invitation of India's Foreign Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar. US President Joe Biden and India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived for the opening session of G20 Leaders Summit in New Delhi on September 9, 2023. Finding consensus amongst members have been increasingly difficult in recent years, with deep divisions on the Ukraine war. The world has a huge crisis of trust, Modi said in his opening remarks. War has made this trust deficit deeper. If we can defeat COVID, we can also conquer this mutual trust crisis. Now, to some of us, this is a good news. But on Twitter since morning, there are a lot of people who believes that this is a terrible news because they feel that why would other countries have a seat at the G20? Then when they reach Africa talk, they can't group all of us, pack us like sardine, give us only one leader. Who is the leader of the African Union? Who is the president of a very small country in Africa? But that's not a problem. Comoros president, one of the smallest countries in Africa. But that's fine, they're a country. But the quarrel is, why would Africa just have one seat? But this is my take, this is what I think. If you look at the list of the countries that make up the G20, the European Union also has a seat. But countries in Europe also has independent seats, like Australia, Turkey, France, Germany. They get their own seat. Then the European Union as a whole can get one seat. Come to Africa. South Africa has a seat. Then the African Union as a whole also have one seat, which means there are still spaces, it's still possible for African countries to have independent seats. If you give people value enough, they will respect you. The ancient Egypt was built on value and principles. Africa should work on giving value to the world. Once you can have value that you give to the world, they will have no choice than to respect you. Look at Africa properly. Even the oil what we get from Nigeria, now you both they call it driller. There's practically nothing we can really do for ourselves. We want to invest in our steel industry now. We need to go and look for investors from India. In a country where they pay your politicians more than the politicians in India. Once we can focus on giving the world value, the world will respect us. You don't demand respect, you earn it. So let's work on ourselves as Africans. Let's work on having value. Let's work on giving value to the world so that we go get what we hold. When the Europeans say they hold this, when Asians say they hold this, we will go get what we hold. When we fit to shake the world. So far, so good. we not get anything. The small resources we get, now they call help us tap am. The Iranian whether you Niger, they need France to go help them tap am. Almost all the countries, everything where they get, they need Oyibo to still go help them tap am, and it's not making sense.